have sort of plans for short term, mid-term, and also long term. We've got here strategic.
As theirs, don't you take that one?
We're not, but they can be that as well. They can have visions that's more sort of structured.
But if you try and put them, and of course futurists, I mean ideally a good leader needs to be all three.
Yeah.
But some people are naturally more thinking ahead always.
Yeah.
Some people are more strategic, and I don't want to give examples of those. And some people are much more into integrating very, very naturally. And so, from a futurist perspective, what kind of real skills do you think they need?
We've got here seeing beyond the present, so they always look ahead, they plan ahead. They don't look at they look at the present, but they look at how, for example, they can have plans that are more sustainable, you know, again, future plans, things that would last, not just for the present, but long term. Exploring ideas as well.
Yeah.
They like to look around and see what, again.
They're naturally curious, aren't
yes,
they? Yeah.
Adventurous as
yes,
well.
Adventurous, curious. Think about that. And they're constantly looking, they're constantly seeking new stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's good.
We've got ambitious in there as well.
Yeah. Ambitious for what though? Ambitious as in expand on that.
Ambitious in terms of success.
Yeah. And so if they have that, I mean all leaders should be ambitious naturally, but futurists particularly, because they are naturally curious, they're naturally exploring, they will have that ambition that if they look out, they might achieve other things. Yeah, good. Any more?
We've got here developer as well, so explorer / developer. So they like to, again, sort of, if you have an idea, they like to develop it, stretch it, and obviously make it happen in the future.
Are we thinking about developers as in developing skills, learning?
Learning not for themselves, or what do you mean you say learning and developing? Are we saying developing others or developing yourself?
Well, both. You have to.
Yeah? Because again, obviously we're talking about leaders here and leadership skills, and all of you aspire to be the future leaders within the NHS. So what does that mean to you? I mean, are you naturally futurists? And do you only think about developing yourself, or are you okay in actually developing others?
We're developing ourselves first to develop others as well.
And very often it's extremely empowering to actually support others in their development for yourself. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
What do you think? What do I mean by that when I say that?
You gather new insights when you really inherit someone else's challenges and try to help them overcome those challenges.
And I think you can learn from them as much as they learn from you, because we're all individual with different qualities and different strengths and weaknesses.
Exactly. But unfortunately, a lot of people often feel a bit insecure. Oh gosh, we're in the same role. If I help her, she might do better than me. So I better not help her. Whereas actually, that's not being very clever, because by supporting others, you're actually improving yourself.
Yeah.
And I think the appraisals and the training needs analysis, that is all part of a team that you're leading. So if they are successful, if the team is successful and learning, then obviously your team is and your leadership is.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
Brilliant. Thank you. Okay. Sorry, you were saying?
I think that's like on some places you can see a good leader, if he doesn't look at the team, and if the team is not there to support that leader, that leadership is bound to crumble, because you're not there all the time. Those teams are your, more or less, your focal points. So it's very good, like you said, to have those leaders on board to develop them. If you develop them, they are better skilled, they know more, then you have a better, maybe the leadership is bound to escalate.
Yeah. And it is, but the thing is, a lot of people don't think, a futurist thinks of the bigger picture and is thinking, you did use the word strategically, but we're going to leave it for them to use, but thinking more holistically, more widely. And so by doing that, you're helping others, you're helping yourself, you're helping the team in so many different ways. Being a futurist is really crucial to being a good leader. Okay, strategist or strategic. Who's going to tell us about that?
Okay. So we
said a strategist is direct. Someone directs. Okay.
Can't read your own writing.
Visionary can look at the wider picture, flexible, a risk taker, and transparent.
Okay, let's go back to the beginning. You said, what's the first one you said? Director.
We've said plan. Someone who plans has aims and objectives.
Okay, so what does that mean?
So we basically talked about they had like a strategy in terms of a linear model, but they've also got contingency. So if something diverts to another way, they've kind of like got another plan of action. So they're quite focused, but they're adaptable as well.
Good, excellent. Yeah, what else?
We said they're quite direct. They know what they want. They know how to get it. They've got vision. They know why they want to achieve what they're achieving. They're able to look at the wider picture. So a lot of these crossover.
I mean, to be fair, you'll find that it's crossover in all three.
Yeah.
But what I'm forcing you to do, just for a short period of time, is understand that there are some bits that are very individual to themselves.
Yeah.
You know, strategic, plan A, plan B. How, if plan A doesn't work, how are we going to deal with plan B? Futurist, curious, naturally exploring, thinking of the big bad world, and adventurous. Slightly different skills there.
Yeah.
This guy is more pragmatic, that guy is more adventurous.
Yeah.
Very simply put. Yeah. Go on.
We talked about transparency. We talked about sometimes people, you can actually see, they're able to portray, you can see everything, but then some people may show a different persona to what they actually are, so you may not be able to figure out their strategy. So we discussed that as well.
Okay, can you expand on that?
Yeah, so we were just talking about like future leaders. Sometimes you're able to kind of like look at a leader and think, okay, this is their plan, this is where they're going. But then we also spoke about leaders where you may think you know their plan, but they don't always show everything.
Okay, so...
Did you understand what I mean?
No, so I'm just trying to figure that out. So what you're saying, though, is that if you want to be a good strategic leader...
Yeah.
Can you finish that sentence for me? What kind of skills will you need then?
You're
what you just said.
You're able to portray what people need to see.
Be confident.
Yeah.
Show evidence.
Have a real clear focus about what the action plan is.
Yeah.
And to be able to expand on that, to explain that.
Yeah, like you may be emotional, but you may not show your whole team that you're emotional. You show them this very clear-cut way.
You know, I don't know if you guys, during Tony Blair's reign, did you ever hear of Alistair Campbell?
Yeah.
What was he? What did he do? Do you know what he did? Pardon me?
He was strategist behind everything.
Exactly. And what he was the strategist. He was talking to people out there and giving, and you know, not showing what you just said.
Yeah.
It could be something disastrous that just happened in the office.
Yeah.
But he goes out there in front, he was the spokesperson.
Yeah.
And he'd go up there in front of the press and he'd talk to them, and nobody would realise from his face that there's all kinds of XYZ going on back there. But you know what? Let me tell you about this. Let me talk to you. Let me show you how amazing Tony Blair is. And, you know, talk about that. But it's about your belief and your understanding of the situation. Otherwise, it's hard. We don't want you to be liars. Because people, if you are the leader, you want your team to be understanding and believing in you and supporting you.
Yeah.
So it's not about lying. It's not being a spin doctor, which is what Alistair Campbell was, but about actually understanding what the role is and how you expand on it, and being very clear and very focused. Yeah? Any more to add on that?
We've got to kind of discuss that. Strategic leader may be someone who's really formal and direct, who's more on a managerial level rather than a coach.
Yeah?
Yeah?
Yes?
That's the kind of
Absolutely. Because they're very systematic.
Systematic, yeah.
They're very systematic. They're systemic thinkers, if there's such a word. So they think very systematically.
So
Now,
that's
some of you in this group might naturally think systematically. Some of you won't. You're just naturally who you are. But to be a good leader, you also need to train yourself to think systematically. Okay, any other points on that?
What's the difference between futurists and strategists?
Between, sorry, futures and strategy.
strategists.
Well, let's deal with integrator and then combine the three. Can I do that?
yeah.
Yeah? Because I want them to feed back to me on what they think is integrator, and then we put all three together. Okay.
So we said that integrator is someone who has a clear vision of the direction of the organisation. I'll just refer and then we can...
Sure.
We also said that they have an application of the wider organisational needs, for example, like political, financial, personnel. They're aware of different aspects for the first point of the direction. They're able to translate to like a ground level and all different levels as well, you know, the goals of the organisation. They're a promoter of good working relationships. They're alert, they're very reactive, efficient and insightful and grounded. They have a
cement that holds the bricks in
Yeah.
place.
Nice.
they have a very keen attention to detail, the obvious things, the non-obvious things. They're well balanced and they are good planners.
Wow, okay. So, can we just quickly recap again the points that you've made? What you're saying essentially is that they're people persons, aren't they?
Yeah,
At one level.
they're very aware of the ground level and how it affects, not only that, but I think that they're very grounded, but they are aware of all different types of levels and how one affects the highest or the
Yeah.
lowest.
So these guys are emotionally pretty high, aren't they? Emotional intelligence is pretty high. They're very empathetic. What was the phrase you said? Cement that holds the bricks in place. That's a wonderful sentence. So they are the glue. They are the ones who keep everybody together. What kind of skills do you need to be the cement that holds the bricks in place? It will be about understanding about emotional intelligence, about understanding the bigger picture, about being able to communicate with different kind of people in your team and being able to support them. So, in answer to your question, what's the difference between futurist, strategist and integrator? Why don't you answer that and then I'll add to it? So what do you
I
understand?
find it difficult to find the difference between the futurist and strategist.
Okay,
Because I think the strategist is to think about the future.
okay.
It has to have a plan.
Yeah,
They have to have a clear vision where
Yeah.
to go. So in terms of strategy, you need to be futuristic, to think about the future,
agreed.
to project the strategy.
Yeah, but there's one minor difference, which is not very minor, but there's one fundamental difference between the characteristics of a futurist and the characteristic of a strategist. The futurist, very simply put, is much more adventurous and open-seeking to go looking out there. Again, we're being generalizing here, obviously. The strategist, very simply put, is much more of a systematic kind of thinker.
I think,
That would be the one fundamental difference between these two. Yes?
I think I used to have this working in film, like the futurist is the director and the strategist is the producer. The director is basically...
It's a very good analogy.
I had this amazing idea and the producer's like, okay, this is how we're going to get there. That's what I think the difference is.
Lovely.
Mm.
Great, thank you. Brilliant. See, I'll use that the next time I do this session. So does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah? But having said that, it is crucial that if you want to be successful leaders, you've got to have a bit of all three within you. So, it's actually 1:28, so and I'm supposed to finish at 1:30. So I'm